and it does take about 30 seconds.
That's
but
what
I will
Mike was saying.
keep it. What's nice is that my hearing aids, my old lady,
If I can mute right everybody's attention. We're not live yet. We'll go live at 6. We do. I'm Kathy Meyerly, a league member, and I'll be doing the moderating tonight. We have, I see, good compliance. We don't want any campaign literature or signs or anything like that in this room. The candidates have had the opportunity to put literature and signs and whatnot on tables outside the room, so you can take it up with them. We would ask that we be very respectful of the candidates and their responses and be as quiet in the audience as we can. And that's particularly important because these microphones that we're wearing are not directional, and so they will pick up any conversation or distractive noise, whatever, that's in the audience. So we'll try to be as quiet as possible. The library is live streaming this. We also have space in meeting room C, which is just around the corner. This room looks to be at capacity, so anybody that is going to be arriving now, the library staff will ask them to go to room C, and live stream will also occur in room C. If you have electronic devices, we would appreciate them being put on silent or turned off at this point as well. And let's see, with that, are we ready to?
Are you going to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, we're not going to do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. That's not part of it.
Sir, I've already talked to you about the Pledge of Allegiance, and you're going to insist you will have to come.
This is the format that we have always used. We decided many years ago, the most important part of these candidate forums is to hear the candidates answer questions. And we want to have as much time as possible for the candidates to answer the questions.
You got a minute.
And that's okay, but we're going to start right now, and we're going to.
You want me to leave?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has always been our format, so we're always done the right same way.
Okay, we're ready to start, so if we can have everybody come to attention here, please. Good evening, everybody. I'm Kathy Meyerly. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters Rochester, and I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. The candidates, those of us in the room, those watching on live stream, or those who will be watching this as it's posted on both the library and the League websites. I'd also like to thank the partners that we have in sponsoring this forum tonight. We have the Rochester Public Library, we have the Rochester Post-Bulletin, and we have the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce. The League of Women Voters is a volunteer organization organized at the local, state, and national level, and we encourage participation in government. As an organization, we do research and may take positions on topics, but we do not endorse candidates or any political party. The views that are going to be expressed in this forum will be those of the candidates themselves. They do not reflect the views of the League of Women Voters or any of the sponsors and partners in our forum tonight. It's our purpose in sponsoring this forum to provide you with an opportunity to hear the candidates discuss face-to-face issues that are important to you. Tonight's questions have come from the League, the Post-Bulletin, the Chamber of Commerce, and those of you here in the audience, as well as live stream. If you have a question, there are cards. Just hold them up, and a League volunteer will collect them throughout the forum. For those who may be watching on live stream, you can email your questions to lwvrochester@lwvmn.org. And we have people in the back who are managing our questions. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be used. Given our format, the questions must relate to all candidates. questions that fall in the same general area or which may have been addressed in opening statements may be consolidated to allow us to cover a wide variety of topics. We appreciate questions that are forward-looking rather than dwelling on past issues. If you don't feel that the answer was completely given, we would encourage you to talk to the candidate after the forum or to consult with the candidate's campaign. Cards that are submitted become the property of the League of Women Voters. We would like to thank all of the candidates for running for office and for volunteering to serve your community. We know it takes just an enormous amount of time and dedication to do that, and we do appreciate it. We also encourage our members, and we encourage all of you to learn about the candidates and to exercise your right to vote. The candidates tonight are running for Rochester Public School Board Member Position 6. And they are, from my right, your left, Kathy Nathan, Elena Niehoff, and Patrick Farmer. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to offer an opening statement. The candidates will then respond in turn to questions provided by the League, the evening partners, and by the audience. Candidates will have 1 minute each to answer, and then candidates will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. We've asked the candidates to be as succinct as possible. They don't have to use their entire minute if they don't want to. And we also provide an opportunity for rebuttals. Each candidate has 3 rebuttal cards that they can use during the questioning period. They can only use 1 card per question, though. And they also have 1 rebuttal card to use during for closing statements if they wish to do so. So again, I appreciate your courtesy in remaining quiet during the forum, holding applause until the end of the forum, and to turn off all electric devices. Helping me tonight up here front are our timekeepers, April Horn and Eric Vodel. They're waving. And in the back, our question facilitators are Maggie Grimajoin, Kathy Swessel, and Mary Jones. Asking questions for the Post Bulletin will be Jordan Scherer, their education reporter, and from the Chamber of Commerce, Ryan Parsons. We will begin. Candidate Niehoff will make the first opening statement, followed by candidate Nathan, and then candidate Farmer. Thank you. Ms. Candidate Niehoff.
Good evening. My name is Elena Niehoff, and I'm running for the position Rochester Public School Board Position number 6. I want to say thank you for everybody who came to listen, and thank you for everybody who is concerned about school boards. I'm running because I'm concerned how our leaders in education infatuated with the socialism agenda. I lived in a country which was the socialism for many years, and I want to tell you, you do not want to live there. There is no parental rights in the socialist country. The children belong to the state. There is no rights of property. There is no even your body property rights. Your body belongs to the state. Is it familiar? So I just want to say, so the whole goal of the socialism is to remove and redistribute the property and power between the people. And when dust settles, most of the people will be equally poor, and 0.001% will have everything and will have control over the people completely. Yeah, it sounds, doesn't sound like a good idea. So, saying that, I would like to warn you, my dear fellow Americans, the socialism agenda never worked. So many people had the same problems, and look at the countries like Cuba, like Venezuela. They are in complete poverty, and they have the control over them.
Thank you
So-
very much, Candidate Niehoff.
Thank you.
Candidate Nathan, your opening statement, please.
My name is Kathy Nathan, and I bring 30 years of advocacy, family engagement, and policy analysis experience to the school board. I'm running for my second term in seat 6 to continue the work using my voice to champion the needs of all students, families, and educators, and using my vote to back up my words with actions and resources for long-term student success. In my first term, I strongly advocated for more opportunities for stakeholders to provide feedback before decisions were made by the board or superintendent. Through that feedback, we received clear, impactful messages. Our students need more support to meet their learning goals and to feel like they belong in their schools. Educators need support for teaching and curriculum with culturally responsive strategies. Everyone wants schools to be safer and welcoming to students and families. This feedback was and is a call to action. The 3 foundational plans that are now the work of Rochester Public Schools over the next 3 years were driven and shaped by that feedback. We have the Planning for Purpose strategic plan, the school climate and safety plans, and plans for expenditure reductions and revenue enhancements in the district budget. But for these plans to successfully impact student outcomes, Rochester needs school board members who are passionate about understanding the needs of our diverse community and transferring those needs into district decision-making. Rochester needs school board members who are prepared to use credible information, best practices, and data analysis in all of our considerations. Rochester needs persistent school board members who advocate for better opportunities and resources, hold the district accountable, and strategize how to best improve student academics and create a positive learning environment in our schools. I will continue to be that passionate, prepared, and persistent school board member, and I look forward to answering your questions tonight.
Thank you. Candidate Farmer, your opening remarks, please.
Yes, so I am Patrick Farmer, running for position 6 in District 535. And I'm a graduate in 2001 here in Rochester, which I think was about 3,000 graduates at that year. I like to golf, I like to play tennis, I like to bicycle on state trails. There are 3 things I'm running on, and that is extending the school lunch waiver and continuing on with the open classes for after this pandemic, and school safety, which is the recent events that involved shootings. There's also school districts are now allowing drag queens to go before kindergartners to read books such as Dr. Seuss and Winnie the Pooh, and I think that's very bad. There's where police and SWAT teams are locked out of schools and psychopaths armed to the hilt, along with drag queens, are allowed into schools. So it's my pleasure here to run. I think these are important issues here in this time, and I will thank you for a vote. You choose to vote for me.
Thank you, Candidate Farmer. You'll be going first to answer the next question, followed by Candidate Nathan, and then Candidate Niehoff. So for our opening question, what specific skills would you bring to the school board?
Well, I am a distributor in that I do for work, and which, as many of you may know, that the newspapers are gone down in the nation, and but I have tried to make a living doing newsstands and news magazines and books and phone books, and that keeps me informed, and that is very valuable. Has been valuable to me And it's very valuable to have for somebody on the school board to be able to be up to date with issues and to reference things from the past as I can. I'm not a male employee of all things. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an administrator. I'm not part of the teachers union. I don't have any interest in the school district other than to be elected and to serve in a fair and unbiased.
Thank you very much. Candidate Nathan.
As the proud parent of 2 Rochester Public School graduates, I have over 20 years of experience in and with the Rochester Public Schools. But in my first term on the school board, I established a strong record of using stakeholder feedback to determine and support appropriate strategies and financial resources. I persisted in asking tough questions to monitor expenditure budgets and requesting program evaluations. I led policy development to address current school operations, and I created systems and structures for school board agenda planning that provides transparency to the community on the annual work of the school board. I participated in statewide advocacy efforts to increase school funding from the Minnesota legislature. I can anticipate that the issues facing the school district in the upcoming years will challenge me to apply all these skills and strategies with even more intensity and effort.
Thank you. Candidate Niehoff.
I'm a parent and a grandparent. I'm a very happy wife. I have lived in the United States since 1998, and I have a unique perspective as an immigrant. So saying that, I know how difficult it is for the immigrants and for the children. I also I'm a registered nurse, and I have a bachelor degree from Winona State University. I also love my country and love my family. So I think this is the very valuable skills I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will come from the Rochester Post Bulletin. And candidate Nathan, you will go first, followed by candidate Niehoff and then candidate Farman.
Equity has been a controversial topic as well as a major initiative in Rochester Public Schools. What are your thoughts on the issue of equity and how would it impact your work as a school board member in Rochester?
When we developed the equity policy, we were very careful to define equity for what it means in Rochester Public Schools. And this is the definition that we developed. Educational equity is the condition of justice, fairness, and inclusion in systems of education so that each individual has access to, meaningfully participates in, and has positive outcomes from high-quality learning experiences, regardless of individual characteristics and group membership. In Rochester Public Schools, equity means we seek out what each individual student needs to be a successful learner, and we address those individual needs through culturally responsive teaching and curriculum, along with emotional and social supports. We teach honest history, and we value the culture and identities of all students so that they can lead the future, knowing the mistakes that have been made in the past and how not to repeat them.
Thank you. Candidate Niehoff.
I think equity principle causes discipline problem in schools, and I want to explain why. The equity principle requires called statistically balanced disciplinary principle according to the race. If a school shows that the one race of a student has disciplinary actions more than other, and the school will be called, it's called having a racial disparity. So what happened actually, I have noticed that some administrators actually selectively discipline the children. There is an interesting document, it's called the Wilder Research Foundation survey. So please read the comments and you'll find what I said.
Thank you. And candidate Farmer.
Well, I think there's a lot of attention that has been, too much attention to critical race theory. It's basically teaching racism as I see it, that the world is diverse and we're after this one human family, and which is basically the one human race that Hitler tried to create. And if you really think about it, the critical part of race theory is that it takes two black people to have a black person. It takes two Indians to have an Indian. It takes two Irish people to have an Irish person. It gets way too much attention, and a lot of students have even left Rochester, which makes a gap for even more diversity. Are we to have Ukrainian refugees? Are we to build a city now for Afghan refugees that is not available? I won't.
Thank you. Our next question will come from the Chamber of Commerce. Candidate Farmer, you'll respond first, Candidate Nathan, and then Candidate Niehoff.
Good evening, candidates. The education and experience students receive in the Rochester Public School District plays an essential role in the development of our future workforce. What do you see as opportunities for the Rochester Public School District to support the development of tomorrow's workforce?
Well, I would make available to students the post-secondary education that it seems to work, especially in this time here where there's an achievement gap between students who would graduate. There has been a sort of questionable 2-year time that has elapsed where students have learned, some of the subjects, and I think that introducing them into post-secondary college ideas would be good. I think technology is probably where the economy is going, like it or not, as much as can be learned about computers and tablets and so forth.
Thank you. Candidate Nathan.
Well, CTEC and PTEC are model programs for developing workforce skills and are only possible through the partnerships we have with our community partners today. But unfortunately, these programs are only experienced by a small number of high school students, and they don't cover the broad spectrum of what is represented as opportunities in our workforce. So in order to really impact the workforce, we need to start far earlier and address all students. One of the key initiatives in the strategic plan is for every elementary student to explore their interests and abilities, and for middle and high school students to connect their interests to learning and skill building that prepares them for education or career after graduation. I was able to attend the end of the year presentations at CTEC, PTEC, and Incubator EDU. And these amazing presentations by these students showed what's possible when students develop knowledge and skills connected to their academic or career interests and apply them to real world issues or challenges.
And Candidate Niehoff.
I always think that the best way children are raised when the family is involved. And the family knows always better their kids than anybody else. And even though the teachers got involved so much time with their children, still family knows them the most. So I think to get the family involved, let the children be more creative and make sure that everything, that they spend more time with the family. So also I'm thinking about post-secondary education would be good. I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question comes from the audience, and Candidate Niehoff, you will go first. followed by candidate Farmer, and then candidate Nathan. A 2021 study showed that increased teacher diversity greatly improves the academic performance of minority students. As a school board member, how will you work to ensure that RPS increases the diversity of its faculty? Candidate Niehoff.
I'm an immigrant, and I came to the United States in 1998, and I have experienced that a lot of great opportunities here in the United States given to the immigrants. I greatly appreciate how much this country has done for me. I achieved many goals. So saying that, there are a lot of immigrants that come into the country, and it's important for them to feel welcome, but it's also important to know that they have to work hard and that they have to respect the country. So I would say I would treat every faculty member the same, and I would apply all the rules equally.
Thank you. Candidate Farmer.
Well, I guess that would be the goal of the school board, is to increase diversity. And I just yesterday there was a workshop at the Willow Creek that invited teachers and so forth, potential people who would want to teach and work in the work for the school district. That would be an option. As far as targeting people who would potentially be teachers, I would try this post-secondary idea of introducing college to students, and target I don't know, grocery stores that are unique to cuisine that people would target a mosque or a Hindu temple, to just say, to have a word out that there is some need of diversity.
Thank you. And candidate Nathan.
Well, increasing the diversity of our educators has been a priority of the district for a few years, but it continues to be a large priority in the strategic plan. We first need to increase the number of diverse teachers that are available to hire. We have Teaching as a Profession courses at CTEC to introduce our high school students to that pathway. We have a Para-to-Teacher program where paraprofessionals work on their elementary education licensure in the evenings while they work for the district during the day. But there's some barriers that we're seeing with some of individuals who feel that there's financial and time barriers to entering the program and sticking with it. And we need to continue to advocate to the Minnesota legislature to pass the Increased Teachers of Color Act. But we also have to support our current staff of color. We need to retain our current educators by ensuring that their working environment is safe and welcoming, and that they do belong here in Rochester Public Schools. And we have to give them opportunities for career growth. If we're successful in retaining current staff, that message will also get to applicants as they explore their career options here.
Yes, candidate Niehoff, would you like to have a rebuttal?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Wilder Research Foundation conducted Rochester Public School Board Strategic Planning Survey, and you can find that they said approximately 88% of the parents feel that their children are connected to the schools. So saying that the belonging they already have. So I want to say it's a great opportunity to have the belonging, but it's only a very fleeting emotion. So we have to have something more strategic.
Thank you. The next audience question will go first to candidate Nathan, then candidate Niehoff, and then candidate Farmer. We all want safe schools, schools that have security and that our students feel safe attending. What is the role of the school board in assuring safety of staff and students? And do you support having police in schools? Candidate Nathan.
Well, we place a high priority on preparation and planning to protect the safety and security of our students and staff. We have detailed crisis management plans for the district as a whole and at each school. We review it and we update it, and the children practice it through drills annually. We have a single point of entry and emergency notification systems at all our buildings. The school threat assessment team at the district and at each school work closely with local police and county supports to evaluate students that might meet specific criteria for a threat. And our strategic action plan focuses on student belonging, and the school climate and safety plans reflect many of the lessons learned from this past school year. The school board supports all of those pillars with the resources through our budget and by monitoring and providing oversight. And recently we did approve the school resource officer plan contract for the next year, and we're undertaking a research project to determine in the future what the appropriate role of school resource officers are in our schools.
Thank you. Candidate Niehoff.
School is obligated to provide safety for the children and all employees. Seeing that, there are different ways to provide that. And I would advocate to increase the amount of resource officers in the school. And I want to explain why. If the child does not do anything wrong, we have to teach them they do not need to fear. The main goal of the school is to prepare the child for the real life outside of the school world, which means they have to know if they are committing some kind of crime or some kind of misdemeanor, there will be consequences, and this is what has to be done. Thank you.
And Candidate Farmer, your response.
So I think there should be a definition of fighting, a discernment between fighting and bullying, which I think bullying is more of a not fair fight, and fighting is more fighting between equally matched people. I would do a zero tolerance for bullying, and I think police would be as appropriate. I think that's where school districts are doing. I think increased patrols around school zones is another good idea, particularly when I see in the community sign after sign, slow down, 25 citywide, slower is safer, 20 is plenty, 5 alive, all these things, drive like your kids live here. Police can enforce that the speeding law if they're in school zones for sure, that people will be driving 40 and 50 miles an hour in excess in the school zone.
Thank you. The next audience question will go first to you, Candidate Farmer, then Candidate Nathan, and then Candidate Niehoff. How should the school board increase funding for operations? Specifically, what should be done about the $23 million deficit, and do you support an operating referendum? Candidate Farmer.
I do not support an operating referendum. I am running on a zero property taxes increase in zero property tax. The operating budget, I feel, should keep its deficit, just continue to operate on its deficit, because what happens is
Can we get him this next mic? Go ahead.
So I would continue running on a deficit, because I think what would happen is that more money would come in for more schools, more of this, more operation, more of that. And what has happened is students are leaving the school district. They're going to Byron, they're going to Stewart or wherever. And I would just continue operating on a deficit. deficit so as not to expand more.
Thank you. Candidate Nathan will get you the microphone here so you can respond.
Well, I've been hearing a lot about this $23 million deficit. That was the projected budget deficit for the fiscal year that began July 1st of this year. This deficit has been reduced to zero. Let me say that again. The deficit has been reduced to zero. We took care of that by spending $9.3 million of federal COVID funding. We reduced expenditures by $7 million. We delayed fund transfers and canceling leases for $2.4 million. And we used $4.2 million of the fund balance that accumulated over the last few years. And those expenditure reductions did not affect teaching and learning for the school year. As for the referendum, we have one that expires in 2024 or 25, so we're going to have a conversation about a referendum. But the conversation we need to have is whether we should just renew the referendum or expand it to include additional funding to support items that are in the strategic plan and our future budget deficits.
We have Candidate Niehoff's response, and then we'll get rebuttals.
So I think the school lost the funding because they lost children. Over 800 children left the district within the last 2 years. And it happened because there were poor academic achievements, there were poor discipline, there were other issues, and I think to prevent losing the funding, we have to change the school policies. We have to improve academic achievement, we have to improve the discipline. So saying that, I also have noticed that the school is not budgeting well. They are building 4 new schools when there are 800 children left, and that's irresponsible.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals? Candidate Farmer, and then Candidate Nathan.
I was not able to say that, that this is just not the time for another referendum. These things, as you may know, are passed in the dark. People don't know about them. The teachers union takes advantage of that, and they all go vote in a special election to raise your property taxes. With inflation on the rise, it is simply not the time for it.
Thank you. Candidate Nathan, your rebuttal.
The deficit, the $23 million deficit was not because we lost 800 students. We've been predicting this deficit for a number of years, and it's primarily cost from the failure of the state to fund our schools to the rate of inflation and some staffing decisions that we had made to include staffing positions in our budget, but that were unfilled, but we kept them in the budget over years. So they've represented expenditures, but they were expenditures that we never filled. And finally, it was the additional cost of opening the new schools, the operating cost of opening the schools, but it did not have anything to do with the 800 students we lost.
And Candidate Niehoff, you have a rebuttal.
I just want to mention that nationwide statistic you can find on the National Center for Education statistic. Since 1970, nationwide public school funding increased 152%, but the average teacher's salary increased only 8%. So when we ask for more funding from the state, where do those money go? I would like them to go to the classes, to the children, and to the teachers, but not to administrators.
Thank you. The next question will come from the Post Bulletin, and the first response will be from Candidate Niehoff, then Candidate Farmer, and again Candidate Nathan.
The school board's one employee officially is the superintendent. As a school board member, what should the relationship be between the school board and the superintendent, and what would you like that to look like moving forward?
Thank you. Superintendent serves at the pleasure of the board. The board represents the community. So superintendent serves at the pleasure of community. So that's it.
Thank you. Candidate Farmer.
So I mean, in the past, given history, the Daliman, there was criticism there. There was criticism with Mr. Munoz. He plagiarized, and he was continued to be the superintendent, and then he plagiarized again, and you know, he continued to be a superintendent until he was eventually resigned, I think maybe just before his contract was out. So I don't have much faith in what this new superintendent, Dr. Peckel, I don't know, but given history, I'm sure it's not going to be a good one.
Thank you. Audience, please keep your remarks to yourself. Candidate Nathan.
Well, formally, the school board annually sets goals for the superintendent and conducts an annual evaluation. The board has also asked for a mid-year report from the superintendent to give us an update on how those goals are progressing. Superintendent Peckel has led the groundwork for additional frequent connections with board members. He asks questions and solicits feedback from board members as he's formulating his evaluation of a situation, his recommendation to the board, and the information that he's going to use to support it. This kind of pre-decision feedback is so essential to us getting our decisions right, because in the past, with past superintendents, it has sometimes felt like a tug of war to get the information I needed as a board member to make a decision. I don't feel that tug of war with Superintendent Peckel. So I'd like to continue to build on the information sharing and continue the collegiality we have among all board members with our one employee.
Thank you. The next question will come from the Chamber of Commerce. Candidate Nathan, you'll respond first, followed by Candidate Niehoff and Candidate Farmer.
We've had an opportunity to receive perspective on a number of topics. Many of them carry with them a little bit more immediacy, a little bit more short-term nature. So let's take an opportunity to look a little bit more long-term. So looking ahead 4 years, let's say, what do you view as a top priority for the school district?
So I think our number one challenge over the next 4 years has to be implementation of the strategic plan. That has to be our focus because it's going to determine how we budget, how we staff, the curriculum we choose, the professional development we offer to our teachers, the way we evaluate our student needs, and the way we measure our student outcomes. I think about it this way. The Planning for Purpose strategic plan gives us the GPS coordinates we're trying to get to. The map to those coordinates is the implementation strategy. And our communication about the plan will give all stakeholders a way to follow us on our journey. I'm looking forward to a presentation that the superintendent is going to give on August 2nd at the school board meeting, where he'll present the strategy for implementing the strategic plan, both at the building level, the district level, and what the role of the school board will have in that implementation. And I think that'll kick us off to what our big priority will be for the next 4 years.
Candidate Niehoff.
Would you please repeat the question?
Yes. In the briefest form, what is the top priority for you in the long term? Let's say 4 years.
My priority would be to improve relationship with the parents. I don't know if you follow the news, but the parents have been very upset what is happening in the schools. It's low academics, it is low discipline, it is difficulty dealing with the children who are in community. So saying that, I think to improve, it means get the parents involved. And also, I think budget would be the biggest thing. The budget needs to be responsible. We probably need to sell a few buildings to get the budget working back.
Thank you. And Candidate Farmer.
Well, I would think a priority might be to
Go ahead.
that the priority would be for me to, I think, continue the operating budget as it is, to let the people know that that Rochester is not growing. We are simply we are maintaining a same direction. We're operating on a low budget. It happens to be what the times are. Students are leaving, and so I think that the main thing is that the growth and just things kind of stall out for the time being, and try and get through the achievement gap, and probably a gap in what the school board has not been able to keep up with for this upcoming school board.
Okay, thank you. The next question, candidate Farmer, you will answer first, followed by candidate Nathan, and then candidate Niehoff. And the question relates to parental involvement. As a school board member, how would you prefer to communicate with parents and hear parents' concerns and respond to their questions?
Well, I would be, I think, probably afraid to do that, given the outrage and the masking that happened. I think the school board will approach parents who are already mad, who can get mad, and I'm not sure. I think there could be some kind of a forum for parents to vent. I don't think it would be to a school board, but I know I would presume a lot of teachers and that are facing the same kind of a experience. That hostile parents in this, it's sort of a history of things at this time. So I guess I don't know. I'm not a parent, and that would be a whole new approach for me.
Thank you. Candidate Nathan.
Well, before I was on the school board, I was that parent in the audience at the school board meeting, every school board meeting for 10 years, to advocate for issues that were important to parents and to share with the school board what parents are feeling about what was happening with their children in school. So I am 100% in support of parent voice to the school board. I think we have not done a good job as a district of communicating to parents in the way that parents need to receive information. We need to find out how parents receive our messages so that we know that they're getting the information that we need. And vice versa, that'll happen in multiple factors. Vice versa, we need to receive their information multiple ways. So whether it's email, whether it's phone call, whether it is groups, small group gatherings, whether it is comments to the board, multiple modes of communication, I think, will greatly support the information exchange.
Thank you. Candidate Niehoff, you have a rebuttal.
May I answer the question
Or
first?
actually, yes,
the
answer the question. My apologies.
No problem. Communication with the parents is absolutely essential. And because I'm a parent and a grandparent, I would like to come and speak to the board. When I came to this board, they actually limited us to speak just once a month. Sorry, Laura. Once a month. So what they said, you cannot speak 2 times in a row. That's actually limiting your parental rights and your First Amendment rights. So first, I would take away the limits. The parents can come and they can speak as much as they want, as long as they want, because this is how they communicate. They have to run the school board, really. And I would like to have the rebuttal also.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals to that?
Yes, for Kathy.
Okay. The next question, okay, you want?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
All right, take another 30 seconds, thank you.
So, respecting parental rights, but I have noticed that the school board limited the, sorry. Okay, I have 15 seconds. So what happened, the school board limited the amount, sorry, just came out.
Okay, thank you. The next question, candidate Niehoff, you will answer first, followed by candidate Farmer, and then candidate Nathan. Rochester has a lot of immigrant families, including undocumented immigrants. What needs to be done to support these students and to ensure an inclusive environment for all students? Candidate Niehoff.
My position that we're supposed to help every child. It doesn't matter if the child is documented or undocumented. It's the adults who decided to bring the child to the country, but it's not for the child to make a decision. So saying that, even in this situation, we have to take care of the child, even if they're undocumented. So saying that, there are probably some kind of repercussions for the undocumented immigrants, but that's above my pay grade.
Thank you. Candidate Farmer.
Well, students are leaving the district, or they're leaving the school district, and that makes a vacancy for more students, and it's not, it'll be more diversity to that. So what's happened is there's diversity, so now there's going to be other diversity. And as I previously said, Ukrainian immigrants, Afghanistan immigrants have come here in the tens of thousands, and there's simply no city that has been set aside next to Rochester to absorb that. And as I've said, that students are leaving Rochester, they're going to Byron, they're going to Stewartville. That's not necessarily as diverse as Rochester is. And now there's these vacancies for more diversity, so I guess that's what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. And candidate Nathan.
Well, for the students, I think it goes back to making sure our schools are welcoming and having every student feel like they belong, recognizing and allowing students to reflect their cultural identities, the countries that they come from. Our support for our English language learners is very important for this population. I'm excited about Natalia Benjamin being a new administrator. She was a Minnesota Teacher of the Year, and she's an expert in this area. I really see we're going to see some development in our English language learner programming. But we also have to support the families. For the past, I think it's been 8 or 10 years, I've helped run a parent academy with the PTA, and we have served a lot of immigrant parents to help them learn to navigate the school system. We need to make sure our parents can be full partners, and a lot of these parents who are new to the country or new to Rochester need to be brought into the circle of parents who are in the know so that they can support their teachers. So we need to support both the teachers and the families.
Thank you. Candidate Farmer, if you have a rebuttal.
I would also suggest that the community, the school district, somehow try to keep what they've invested in. I would guess that a lot of students who received an education here, it's a good one. It's not the best, but it's a pretty good one to try and keep them here. Somehow, their careers, their education takes them to other states, other countries. I would try and keep that investment somehow.
Thank you very much. This concludes the question portion of our program, And we'll now move to closing arguments, or closing statements. Candidate Needhoff will go first, followed by candidate Nathan, and then candidate Farmer. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
My dear fellow Americans, I run for this position to provide you new policies. Those new policies will give the tools for the teachers to restore the discipline in the classrooms, to focus on teaching basic academics, to restore children's innocence, and to provide you with responsible budget. Please remember that people who shut down the schools for more than a year, divided your kids by race, blamed some of you having their white privileges, sexualized your children, and marched happily toward the socialism, are now asking for your re-election. And I would like to say that their methods did not work in the past, and they're not going to work. And if you don't trust me, look at the countries like Venezuela, like Soviet Union, and Cuba. I'm offering to you the same methods. I'm offering to you the methods which were used by our country over 200 years. And I want to read. We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Our rights come from God, and they are not to be taken by the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Nathan, your closing statement.
This is a critical time of action in Rochester Public Schools. We spent the past year listening to our students, families, and educators and crafted detailed plans and initiatives in response to what we heard. This election is critical to determining whether those plans and initiatives will be allowed to be fully implemented. The For Your Children candidates told us this week at these forums that if elected, they will deny what our students have told us they need to be successful academically and to feel welcomed and supported in our schools. Derail the implementation of the Planning for Purpose strategic plan and the school climate and safety plans and substitute their different ideas. Distract our educators from the work they want to do to plan culturally responsive teaching and curriculum. Dismantle the equity policy that empowers all students to learn about and express their own history, cultures, and identities. Dismiss the need for additional financial resources to support the strategies and initiatives designed to improve student outcomes at Rochester Public Schools. If reelected to the school board, I will build on the implementation work we will accomplish in the next 6 months, providing oversight, monitoring, and feedback to the process. I will accelerate the implementation of the strategic plan and the school climate and safety plans. I will stand for curriculum that teaches honest history and supports every student's race, culture, or identity. I will support the financial and people resources that will be needed to achieve our desired outcomes. Success in the classroom begins when all students feel they are safe, welcomed, and belong. It begins when students and families are respected and supported with resources that meet their students' needs. I will never stop fighting to make this all possible in Rochester Public Schools and would be honored by your vote on August 9th.
Thank you. Candidate Farmer, your closing remarks, please.
I am Patrick Farmer, running for position 6 in the school district. I'm just a citizen. I vote. I've seen the shutdowns in the past 3 years. I'm running because I want to see that they are open and remain open and stay open. Given the past 3 years, as I said, I am not a teacher. I'm not in the teachers union and administrator. I have a fair and unbiased opinion to look at issues that face Rochester and the school district. And I will appreciate a vote on August 9th.
Thank you very much. Is there a rebuttal? Yes, candidate Niehoff.
The present school board members used their methods for many years, and they ramped them up for the last 2 years. Did it work? Rochester top school performing high school is Century. 22 ranking college readiness, 31.6%.
Thank you. Candidates, we very much appreciate your participation in tonight's forum, and we thank you again for your service to the community and your willingness to participate in the democratic process. I would like to remind everybody that the views expressed on the forum tonight were those of the candidates and not those of League of Women Voters Rochester or any partner or sponsor of the forum. I want to also thank our sponsors, the library, the Post Bulletin, and Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce, and for all of you for coming tonight. As you go out, if you have not picked it up, please get one of these little brochures because it includes the schedule and information about voting. If you would like to know more about your candidates and where you should vote, you can go to vote411.org or the Secretary of State's website. And we ask you to remember that primary day is August 9th. Early voting is open now. If you have already voted and tonight's forum caused you to rethink who you voted for, you have the opportunity to reclaim your ballot and vote again. And the information about that is on the Secretary of State's website. Again, a caution, we have been reapportioned, and so you may not be in the same precinct that you were in the last time you voted, so be sure you do verify where you need to go to vote on Tuesday, August 9th. The forum has been recorded and will be posted on the on the League of Women Voters, Rochester, and the public library websites for you to view again or to refer your friends to. We need to be out of here by 7:45, so thank you very much and have a good evening.